is making.
Speaker.
Honourable Simon.
Mr. Speaker, what a ridiculous set of contributions we've had from the opposition this afternoon. Mr. C, we started with David Cunliffe going on about Judith Collins's numbers in our caucus. Well, he was, I think, purple with envy, Mr. Speaker, because he's never had the numbers in his own caucus. And, of course, the only party, Mr. Speaker, that David Cunliffe has the numbers in to remain leader of the opposition is in the New Zealand National Party, Mr. Speaker. We're absolutely desperate for him to stay as leader of the opposition just as long as he can. Then, of course, we had Grant Robertson, Mr. Speaker, from the opposite. He started off okay, actually, I thought. He was all right. About halfway through, he got hungry and started talking about Chinese banquets, Mr. Speaker. I could see him sort of mentally visualising dumplings in his head or something, Mr. Speaker. But actually, in all seriousness, we have had speeches from the other side of the House that have not focused on a single issue of importance to New Zealanders around this country. Nothing in those speeches. Actually, at the people of Hamilton, where Sue Moroney comes from, despite never having won the seats she stood in, but where she comes from, nothing in the speeches for them, nothing for the people of Napier, for New Plymouth, for Tauranga and so on. And actually this, Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House is a party that is focused on the issues that matter to New Zealanders. We are resolutely focused on a budget coming up very soon, Mr. Speaker, on targeted spending, not the kind of spend-up we'd get from the opposition parties, on the areas that matter most to families and New Zealanders, healthcare, education, safer communities. We'll be sticking, Mr. Speaker, to the $1 billion budget allowance because we know that that is the responsible thing to do. We know that's what keeps mortgage rates lower for longer. We know that that's how we will achieve average annual wage increasing by $7,500, Mr. Speaker, around $62,000 a year in 2018. And over the past 2 years, we've seen a $3,000 lift in the average wage to $54,700 a year, Mr. Speaker. So we've got great results here in this part of the government. We know we can't have a spend-up, Mr. Speaker. And of course, I will say we then heard from Eugenie Sage, and it is true, she did, unlike the Labour Party, focus on a real issue. And she made the Green Party position clear on these things, and we've seen it today in the House from Russell Norman. They are absolutely anti-development. That's their position on these things. They are anti-irrigation for farms and intensive farming and the jobs they bring. They are anti-intensive manufacturing, and we know that they are anti-resources. And we saw that from Russell Norman getting in a lather today about the Victoria Forest Park, despite the fact that that party, and they hate to hear this, whilst they were propping up the Labour Party, did nothing as the Labour Party in this area saw mining. And of course we've got Damien O'Connor on the other side and Labour Party who have been quiet as church mice on this issue, Mr. Speaker. Not even a squeak from them because, well, they're confused. They've got on the one side the sort of the university types, the Marion Streets and so on, the bookish types, who probably with the Greens on these things, and then the manly, chest-beating Tarzan types like Shane Jones, actually, who actually probably more gung-ho, certainly actually on these issues than we are. But this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we're absolutely focused on the things that matter to New Zealanders. We're focused on a budget that's going to be sensible, that's going to be responsible, that is going to deliver for New Zealanders, Mr. Speaker. And, we know that we can actually live in a country where we do explore all our opportunities. In my portfolio, we do pursue resources. That doesn't mean we don't care about the environment. We absolutely do, but we know the legal processes and so on safeguard what's happening, Mr. Speaker. So while the other side of the House can focus on the trivial, can focus on Chinese banquets and things that the people in Napier, New Plymouth, Nelson, Christchurch and Hamilton, Sue Moroney, couldn't care less about. This side will focus on the things that matters to New Zealand and on that basis be re-elected later this year.
Order. Honourable Shane